They thought humans would break like every other species they had crushed. They believed our strength was just in numbers. They said our tactics were primitive. They thought we would struggle, then fall. But they forgot one thing. Humans fight back. The Tari Dominion ruled the galaxy for centuries. Their empire was built through endless wars. They saw themselves as untouchable. Civilizations had bowed to their power. Species had vanished under their heel. But when they looked at Earth, they made a mistake. They underestimated us. Their declaration of war came without warning, broadcast across every system they controlled. Their fleets moved out. Their soldiers stood ready. It was supposed to be a message of fear, a reminder that no one challenges the Tari. They expected humanity to kneel, but back on Earth, the message reached Terran High Command. At first silence, then laughter. General Marcus Donovan read the message, then leaned back with a grin. "You've got to be kidding me," the officers. Around him were confused, but he just smiled. "They think they can beat humanity?" He shook his head. "We'll show them how wrong they are." Then came the order, clear and final, initiate. Total war protocol. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon ready for war. No more talks, no more waiting. Terran warships launched from every dock, forming attack formations across the system. Earth's fleet wasn't the biggest in the galaxy, but it didn't need to be, because we don't fight to. Last, we fight to win. And the Tari were about to learn that the hard way Donovan gave the final word, burn them to the ground. The Tari thought we were primitive. They thought we would make mistakes, that we would bleed, then break. But they were. Wrong. Terrans fight like no one else. Fast, precise, unrelenting. While the Tari leaders sat in their grand halls, dreaming of glory and a long war, we gave them one command: destroy them. Within 2 hours, the Tari Dominion would fall. No drawn-out battle, no warning shots. The first strike wasn't with ships or missiles, it was with silence. Our cyber teams hacked their central network. Every command channel went dark. No orders, no reinforcements. Their fleet was blind, frozen, vulnerable. A Tari admiral shouted on his bridge, "What the hell happened?" But there was no answer, because by then the Terran fleet was already in motion, and the real war had just begun. The bombardment began. Precision, strikes hit every major military installation. The Tari never stood a chance. From the moment the human fleets moved, everything the Tari knew about war fell apart. Their ships were once the pride of their empire. Now they were helpless targets. The Tari had always relied on patterns, on predictability. But humanity was different. "We are dealing with something we do not understand." That was the last whisper inside Tari High Command. Right before their capital was hit, orbital drop pods tore through the skies. Each one carried elite human forces. Their mission was clear: take out the leadership. End it fast. They didn't touch civilians. They didn't waste time. In minutes, the highest-ranking Tari officials were dead. Their government collapsed before they could speak a word. No negotiations. No last stands. No hope. They were cut off. Isolated, eliminated, across the galaxy. The stars fell silent. Everyone watched as the mighty Tari Dominion crumbled in real time. News spread like wildfire. Tari-occupied systems fell one by one. There were no more leaders, no more armies. By the end of the second hour, it was over. The Dominion had been reduced to nothing. Human warships continued their patrols, calm, efficient, as if they had just completed a drill. No celebration, no victory speech, just the cold execution of Terran military doctrine. Back at High Command, General Marcus Donovan received the final report. The Tari were gone. A 2-hour war. An entire empire erased. Not a single human life lost. He leaned back, a smirk on his face. "Too easy," he said, then looked up. Now what's next? The war was finished, but the galaxy had changed forever, because now everyone knew humanity wasn't just strong, it was unstoppable. And when an enemy truly loses, it's not on the battlefield. It's when their leaders realize what it means to be defeated. The Tari had expected a long war. They thought their bureaucracy would wear us down. They imagined we would suffer, then break. But the war ended before they could even blink in their command center chaos. Frantic voices, scrambled orders static on every screen. They thought it was a glitch, a system failure, but it wasn't. Fleet Admiral Kavars slammed his hand on the console. What's happening to our communications? They've been hijacked, a subordinate said, his voice trembling. The Terrans! How are they doing this? But it was already too late. On the other side of the galaxy, Terran cyber warfare units had already won. They broke into the Central Tari network in seconds, crippling everything. No commands, no orders, no chain of command, just silence. They'll be lost without orders, Donovan had predicted, and he was right. In space, the Terran warships advanced. No dramatic battles, no cinematic dogfights. They bypassed enemy ships and went straight for the infrastructure. Kinetic strikes were launched, simple, brutal, unstoppable. Without coordination, the Tari fleets collapsed one by one. Explosions lit up the stars. Flagships vanished in flames. Defenses crumbled. Under pinpoint attacks, on the bridge of Earth's revenge, the commander gave the order, fire, and the Tari homeworld burned. They had prepared for a war that would last decades, but what they got was a massacre that ended before they could. Even Fightback Admiral Kavars stared at the screens, his voice hollow. We did not expect this. His officers said nothing. Frozen. Staring at the end of everything they had ever known. The capital stood tall, the symbol of Tari power, but not for long. They would never see another dawn. Human special forces were already descending. Their drop pods cut through the atmosphere like meteors, punching into the sky with unstoppable force. These were the best soldiers humanity had. No one knew warfare. Like the humans did, I want a clean hit, Sergeant Frank Morales said over comms. Don't take prisoners. The Tari capital stretched for miles, towering skyscrapers, fortresses made of glass and steel. But it would not matter. Terran forces were already inside. By the time the Tari realized they were under attack, it was already too late. The special forces moved like shadows, slipping through defenses, one target after another. Gone. Anyone who posed a threat was eliminated. Leaders, commanders, strategists, all taken out before they could speak. In minutes, the heart of the Tari government had been shattered. There were no talks, no mercy, just silence. The Terran forces didn't come to fight a war. They came to end one. The Tari tried to regroup, but their forces were scattered, disorganized, hopeless. Their empire had fallen apart. High-ranking officials were either dead or missing. It was no longer a battle. It was a purge. We've lost everything, Kavars whispered, staring at the flickering screens. His empire crumbled. We never even had a chance. The Tari tried to surrender, but there was no one left to receive it. They had no idea where their armies were, no idea how to communicate or recover, and the humans, they didn't wait. They didn't listen. They moved on, leaving the Tari with nothing but ruins. When the final reports came in, General, Donovan leaned back in his chair. There was a strange satisfaction in his voice. The Tarkari were done. Their fleets wiped out. Their homeworld broken, their government gone. In just a few hours, humanity had erased an empire, and not a single Terran soldier had died. We're done here, Donovan said to his officers. Now we move on. The Tari, Dominion was history, and the galaxy. It had changed forever. For centuries, they had seen humanity as a curiosity. Now they saw something else. The message was clear: do not provoke humanity. In the aftermath, alien civilizations watched in silence. The speed. The precision. It defied everything they knew. The Tari were supposed to win. Their strength was unmatched, but in 2 hours they were no more. News spread fast. Every analyst, every strategist was left speechless. "I still can't believe it," said Admiral Aerith of the Kal Nexus. 2 hours. That's all it took, and humanity didn't even break a sweat. On Tari-occupied worlds, the civilians were untouched. The Terrans hadn't come to punish the innocent. They had one goal: destroy the Empire. With the government gone, there was no resistance, no reason for more bloodshed. The galaxy reeled. Governments across the stars began rethinking everything: military strength, defensive strategies, diplomatic policies. No one had seen this coming. And now, every leader, every ruler was asking the same question: what happens if the humans ever decide to get serious? And that was the most terrifying part, because the first and final rule of war is simple: it's not over until the last bullet is fired. And the Terrans, they don't stop firing. General Marcus Donovan, the Tari Dominion had stood for centuries, proud, vast, feared, and in less than 2 hours, it was gone across the stars. The consequences were immediate. News of the fall spread like a shockwave. Analysts were scrambling, trying to explain what just happened. Some called it luck, but deep down, they knew the truth. "This cannot be real," whispered Korith, a senator from the Neltor. 2 hours. How can one species do that? "It's not possible," said another Adullan war strategist. "They must have cheated, had inside help something." But there was no cheating, no espionage, no tricks, just efficiency, and a kind of warfare the galaxy had never seen: fast, ruthless, unforgiving. The Tari had underestimated humanity and paid the price. "We weren't bluffing," said General Marcus Donovan. He stood before the Galactic Council, a hologram of steel and silence behind him. "We were willing to negotiate. Peace." He said, "You chose war, we ended it." He paused, letting his words sink in. The room was frozen. Alien leaders stared in disbelief. "If anyone else has an issue, file a complaint, or we don't care." The words echoed through the chamber. And for the first time, the galaxy understood what it meant to anger humanity. Speechless. No one had ever spoken like that before. Most alien species hid behind layers of bureaucracy, endless diplomacy, words without meaning because they believed time was always on their side. But humanity had no time for games. In the Terran military, there was no room for negotiation, not when the outcome had already been decided. The Tari had made their choice, and they had paid the price. On the Neltor homeworld, the senators met in secret, far from the press, far from the panic. There was only one question, one fear shared by all. "What if they get serious?" Korith asked, his voice low dread in every word. "What if the humans aren't done?" "We've never seen anything like this," the Dullan senator said, his many eyes shifting nervously. "If they did this in 2 hours, what happens when they really try?" "They didn't try hard enough," Korith whispered, the truth hitting him like a hammer. "What if they just wanted to show us? What if this wasn't even their best?" The room fell silent. The weight of that possibility pressed down like gravity. The Tari had been powerful. They had the largest fleet in their sector. And yet the humans hadn't fought a war. They had ended one. If this was what they could do in hours, what could they do in days or weeks or months? No one had the answer. Back on Earth, the Terran military had already moved on. No celebration. No cheering, no victory speeches. The enemy was gone, the mission was complete. Now there was work to do. Officers filed reports, documenting the collapse of the Tarkari Dominion and preparing for the next step. General Donovan didn't linger. He didn't gloat. He didn't wait. He was already planning, already looking ahead. There were more enemies, more operations, more unfinished business. Continue as planned, he said. The Tari are history, move on, in orbit. The shattered remains of the Tarkari. Dominion floated through space cities, vaporized capitals burned, and the galaxy watched in stunned silence. The once mighty empire was nothing but rubble, because they had underestimated one thing. Humanity Terran warships, sleek and silent, cruised through the ashes. They did not fire, they did not need to. The message was already sent. The Tari were gone, and the galaxy knew it. As Terran ships passed the ruins of what had been, the officers inside showed no emotion, no joy, no pride, just cold, focused professionalism. Another day. Another task completed. I told you not to mess with us, Captain Luis Santiago said, as he stared out the window of the Valor. Too bad for them. Yeah, it's over, Lieutenant Alan Thompson replied, cracking a grin. They didn't stand a chance. And just like that, the message was sealed. The Tarkari were gone. The galaxy was watching. And the Terran military, they were already on to the next job. No one had ever seen anything like it. No one had expected it. But the truth was now undeniable. Humanity was not just a force to be reckoned with. They were a force to be feared, and anyone who thought otherwise had better think twice.